Question number one. Every time I try to talk about my mental health, I feel like I'm being disrespectful to people who have a diagnosis. I feel as if I'm lying, even though I know that I'm not. What can I do? Once again, every time I try to talk about my mental health, I feel like I'm being disrespectful to people that have been diagnosed. I feel as if I'm lying, even though I know I'm not. What can I do? I think you have to, at this point in time, you have to be honest with yourself. And because mental health is sort of new and in a lot of places it's still considered taboo, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're not lying and you're not being disrespectful to any person that's been diagnosed with mental health or anybody that's sharing their own mental health story. When we talk about mental health and suffering from deficits and a lot going into your mental health, it's very specific to you, right? So someone's struggle with mental health may be completely different from your struggle with mental health. That does not mean that you do not have a struggle with mental health, right? I think a lot of times we run into trouble when we start to feel just how you feeling, right? And you're like, well, I don't feel like my symptoms are that severe, or I don't feel like I am close to as bad as someone that's been diagnosed, where I don't think we are in position to do that. That's why we have mental health professionals. That's why we have people that have degrees and do clinical studies and all of those things for them to be able to bring that to the table. And if you really are not struggling with mental health, then they'll be certain to let you know and give you techniques to work on that can help improve where you are and going forward, right? So I would invite you not to, or I should say, give yourself some grace. I would invite you to give yourself some grace and still seek mental health professional help, because they can determine if you're just kind of in your own mind or if you really are struggling with the mental health barrier. Question number two. How do you break intergenerational trauma? I think one of the things that I've become accustomed to when we talk about intergenerational trauma, period, intergenerational trauma, genuine trauma, is talking about it. Talking about it is something that helps with me, or I should say help me, because once you start talking about it, you start to see that other people face similar issues that you have faced, or kind of issues along the same lines that you faced, and then it doesn't feel like that burden just on you at that point in time, right? Where it's like, okay, this family went through something similar to what my family went through. What are some techniques that you've worked on? What are some things that you guys did to kind of help try to throw a wedge into a lot of the intergenerational trauma? And I think that I've been able to, at least, especially over the past couple of years, I've been able to kind of nitpick and take a little from here and take a little from there with the people that are in my network, and then the people that are also a part of my social support system. And I won't say completely get over intergenerational trauma, but I certainly have opened another neurological pathway to be able to find techniques that can help me get over barriers when I do get stuck, right? So seek social support, be willing to talk about it with others, and be open to, just like I said with the mental health question, be open to giving yourself some grace. Because when we talk about intergenerational trauma, generational trauma, these things have gone on for long periods of time. And if you're able to alter a thought process or change a tendency or behavior that you used to have or your family used to have, then that's essentially creating a new pathway to getting over that trauma and being able to successfully navigate the blind spots of trauma that will eventually come as well. Question number three. Why is measured temperament healthier than mood swings and hyperactive states? Once again, why is measured temperaments healthier than mood swings and hyperactive states? When we talk about mood swings and hyperactive states, that's a reactive way of thinking, right? So when we just jump to conclusions, or for example, I recently had a client that I was working with, and I'm so very, very proud of him for being able to kind of break this barrier that he was facing. But he would wake up in the middle of the day, or I should say in the morning, excuse me, and he would say, okay, today's gonna be a bad day. And that's literally what his thought process would carry out, and his subconscious would carry out throughout the day. So he'd find issues on the way to work in traffic. He would get to work, then find issues at work, and once he got home, there would be more issues, and they would just compile and compile and compile until they layered up on him. And I invited him to do this quick technique to, once your thought process or your brain starts to shift towards a reactive state, like a mood swing, or a fixed mindset, to throw an idea in there, right? So whatever your favorite thing to do, or the most exquisite place that you like to go to, whether that's a beach, restaurant, one of your favorite places. As soon as you get into a situation in which you feel like you're in a reactive state, throw one of those images in your mind, right? So imagine that you were on your way to one of your favorite restaurants, or you were on the beach. And what that does is it tricks our brain from going down a negative subconscious path to being more in balance, right? And that's a neuro linguistic programming technique that I learned, because once you allow your negative thoughts to steamroll, or negative behaviors like mood swings from here to there to steamroll, it's kind of like an avalanche. It picks up more and more momentum. So throw a happy thought in there to curve that negative thought process, and to curve the temperament, right? Because I don't know if you think it's made you successful now, but anyone that has temperament issues or anger issues, they are not good people to be around, right? You usually walk on eggshells around those people. So if you're one of those people, or you know one of those people, you want to make sure that you're telling them to be proactive in shifting that thought process. Question number 4: how do you sustain your mental health through COVID's second and third waves? Once again, how do you sustain your mental health through COVID's second and third waves? For me, I think it's gonna be difficult. We in Syracuse, New York, just found out that a lot of our gyms are closing, and I've shared this with you guys before. But I do love to work out. I love trying to stay fit, not only physically fit, but mentally sharp as well. And we found out our gym's gonna close, so I'm gonna have to get creative with my workout routine, or with running. However, I've not even thought about it yet, but I'm gonna have to get creative, because one of the things that I do to stay mentally sharp is working out or trying to be physically fit, right? So that's how I'm looking to survive that second and third wave. The other things that I'm looking to do is launch a new business at some point in time. Actually, probably pretty soon, but I'll be doing some matchmaking stuff. So I try to, with that, shift my energy in different directions. I know I won't be able to go out the house a ton. I know I won't be able to go out to eat, or, as I just said, to the gym. So for me, it's all about shifting the energy towards another direction, but still making sure that I'm being the best person that I can be, right? So look at some self-improvement stuff. Anything you've ever wanted to do, like learn a new language, clean some stuff up around the house, shift a room around the house. Those are all things that I would invite you to do, because what it does is it shifts your energy from thinking about how bad COVID is, and it is bad, into how you can improve and how you can do some self-improvement stuff. And the final question for our relationships, mental health, and love section is: what psychological facts shock you? Once again, that question is: what psychological facts shock you? I think the number one shocking psychological fact for me that I found, probably within the last 5-6 years or so, is that the brain can change, right? So you can learn new information, and you can process new information, and you can ultimately create new habits for yourself, and your family, and whoever else that you come around. And I found that so profound, because 25, 26 years of my life, I was told that, okay, once you become 20, then your brain's set. Whoever you are, once you reach the age of 20, you'll never change. You'll be stuck in your ways. And I've shared this in the past, but I wasn't the best person at the age of 20. So to find out that once I hit 20, that was going to be who I was, and I was never going to be able to change or never improve, or at least that was the thought process going back then. It was pretty daunting and pretty scary. But over the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, I've been able to shift my paradigm and shift my thought process to a more healthy one, and also learn that the brain can change. So we don't have to have a fixed mindset if we don't want Two, if we can put forth the effort and put forth the steps to improving and trying to be better, as long as we're willing to work at it, we will create a new neurological pathway within our brain. So I think that's so cool. I love brain science. I mean, I talked about it before, but neuro linguistic programming, NLP, brain science, any type of things like that, all psychological stuff that I recently started to dive into that I found to be very, very profound, and it's helped me shift my thought process.